Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pears on a Pod. It's 2025, which means new season, it means new style, it means new format, and my same co-host, Jack Hudson. Hello, hello.
Hey, mate, it's good to be back. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to how we sort of structured it this year. So we'll be here weekly, hopefully, pending our schedules not absolutely going up shit creek as we
Mhm.
tend to have, because we were supposed to do this last night, but we've already pushed it back a night. So we're off to a flyer.
Yeah,
But yeah, consistency's key. We'll still have guests this year, and we've got a few more exciting additions that we've been promoting on our socials. But yeah, let's get stuck in, eh?
let's get stuck in indeed. We've just come away from a weekend dealing with the fallout from obviously a match sim, and I guess it's prime time to talk about it against the Crows out in Mount Barker. None of us attended, both of us watched.
Mhm.
And how did you find it, Hutto? Because I think there's a lot of the same feeling that every Port fan sort of has going into a preseason.
Yeah, apprehensive. So everyone like there's the element of frustration, all that sort of stuff. But I'm glad that we sort of didn't apply the midfield pressure, which has been missing, because we need to test out how our defense is going to look under extreme pressure. That's the
Mm.
reality of it. With no Zerk Thatcher, of course, out to God knows how long, and then Radaglia touch and go for round one. We needed to test it out with Finlayson against what the three-headed giant that is the Crows forward line, and it didn't look great, but there's you can see signs. But I have fears in that aspect when it comes to playing Collingwood. But like Butters, Horn, Francis, and Rosie weren't going at probably 50%. Let's be real.
Yeah, I think so. And I noticed as well there was a lot of those mid types that were really playing a defensive role. We saw Horn Francis when he was on the ground, that intercept sort of play, which he hasn't done a lot of. I mean, I think towards the back end of last year, we saw him. The game against the D's at the MCG was one where he definitely touched space. But I think you're right. Like, besides Aliir and Miles Bergman, who were the two clear standouts, I think Finlayson had his moments. Lockie Jones had his moments. Logan Evans had moments. It was kind of difficult to tell because I don't think any of them were really going at 100%.
Yeah. And the other problem is with our defensive depth, we haven't got Trent McKenzie to rely on again. We haven't got Tom Cleary, which that's a bewildering decision now in hindsight, really. Um, we haven't got that cover. And the two draftees that we picked up a couple of years ago, being McCallum and Marshall, obviously didn't sort of develop the way they wanted them to, and Marshall's still being on the Magpies list, but there's no cover. So Finlayson's going to be it, and that's frightening. But Bergman can play tall, Jones can play tall. Burton, I don't think probably his best football isn't as a defender. He's been as a rebounding defender. So we're going to be missing a lot of that, and that yeah frightens me coming in round one. Round two, not so much because we're playing Richmond, who will more than likely win the wooden spoon. But looking just forward to round one, scary prospects.
It is, I guess, and I've been sort of talking about this within the pair and everything. It's like the first three games probably in hindsight sort of favour that smallish defence. I know McStay's there and you'll have Myercheck, but they don't really have a big tall tool besides McStay. So I think you can kind of get away with it. Richmond's probably the same in terms of their youngsters and everything. Essendon are a little bit taller in stature, but they don't have a clear. They got Harrison Jones playing on a wing. So like,
Yeah,
I think looking at that, like the first three, you probably can get away with it. Then you probably by then you see Radaglia come back in. Brandon Zerkdash is I don't know what twisted his whole back and then
yeah.
popped off type of thing.
I think it depends if they want to go with Cox, and of course Tim Bevery comes into the conversation with Collingwood too, who actually plays quite well against us half the time, and
Mhm.
Tom Lynch for Richmond likes a good game against us, and then Essendon. If Peter Wright gets off to a good start, then gee whiz, that's not going to be fun at all. But there are positives. There are a lot of positives. We'll focus on the defense because that's obviously going to be my discussion point. But our forward line look very different because it's going to have probably about four new faces, and I say that including Sam Powell Pepper.
Yeah, and Pep, despite his finishing, which I expect in February, I look terrible on the footy field kicking at the moment. So, despite his finishing, and I don't know for some reason with Pep, I can't understand how he snaps the pill because like he almost puts it so far out in front of him that it's dropping towards his obviously his right foot, but it's so far away that he's trying to bend it over his head.
Yep.
So that's intriguing in itself, but
Classic.
it did look very good at the ground, at ground level. I thought DBJ just everyone's like, oh, let's put him in defense. Let's put him in defense. He's that cover.
Mm.
No, he's probably our number one small forward in terms of that pressure. Rioli looked okay, was not going 100%. Love, love, love the structure of the freedom that Mitch Georgiadis has.
Mm-hmm.
The man has space, so much space. And whilst and I said it the other day, like you can see the plan. Before, it's always been, oh, kick it to Charlie.
Yep.
You can see the plan. They're going to force everyone up and they're going to get you on the turnover. They're going to get you on the spread. The zone's going to be a whole lot different. And look, if skill-wise in February is not great, if we can kick that off in March and heading into April against the bigger clubs, offensively, we're dangerous. Very, very dangerous.
Now, I love Charlie Dixon, but I'll ask you this, Ant. When has our forward line looked the best? What last stage did our forward line look fluent in terms of leading, in terms of marking, in terms of converting? When was the last time it looked clean?
When Charlie was injured and Todd Marshall kicked 45 goals for the year.
Well, that too, but before that.
Before even Charlie was there.
Jay Shields.
Yeah, the small, silky slits.
Yeah, so we've got Lukosius who will lead. We've got Georgie who will lead. And we've got the two small forwards in terms of Joe Barry, who very much left-footed Robbie Gray style-esque clone. That's what everyone's sort of hoping for. And Joe Richards looks right at home. So I'm excited to see. The forward line excites me because there's so many different dynamics. And that's what we have lacked. Because look at the difference in the finals. And this is still mind-boggling while we brought Dixon in. We went to bomb on his head against the Swans, and we were never in that game. We did against Geelong, and yeah, well, that turned out well. Against Hawthorn, he wasn't there. And how different the forward line looks. Yeah, that's going to be the key moving forward. Is just how and the ball users going in. Like Butters loves a dinky kick to a lead. Horn Francis can hit out anyone or go for goal, and same with Rosie. It's going to be good for the good ball users going inside forward 50. I'm quite excited about that aspect. I'm just frightened on the defense, but we'll talk about the midfield as well. I'm not fussed. Like I said earlier, I'm not fussed because I don't want them going 100% in February.
Yeah.
I want them going 100% into August, into September, as we're charging, hopefully, into another finals campaign.
Yeah, and I think, looking at it, I think Butters played probably 2.5 quarters. Hornet played probably bulk before. I'll tell you what, just before you talk about the midfield, the moment when him and Burton collided and I saw a glimpse of Hornet clutching at his knee, I'm not supposed to have a heart rate like that in February, Huddo.
It's usually because of the heat.
Yeah. Well, luckily he was next contest, saw him running about. But yeah, I think the mix looks really good. Where is your quite interesting because I noticed he was in favour last year. But now with this dynamic and change, and you see Joe Barry, Joe Richards, these high half forwards, Hornet resting, looking to get more midfield time. Where do you see Jackson Mead this year?
Midfield.
Do you see him as that rotational midfield?
Yeah, he's a rotational midfielder. He's a midfielder. He's not. Oh, look at his games last year. It was when he was attending centre bounces that he was at his best.
Yeah.
The good thing is we've got a very deep midfield because Willem Drew, Ollie Wines, on top of Butters, Rosie, Horn Francis, chuck in Mead, and chuck in Trav, but Trav will obviously be either sub, wing, or taking a rest or two. So we're into a different sort of period where that midfield is going to be good. And I think Ken even mentioned that there's going to be times that even Barry can go in there.
Yeah, and he started there.
He's going to be a small forward, but he can go in there. And that is cool. We've got a very bloody good midfield.
I think the start of the fourth period or fifth period, I can't remember which one it was, the ruck situation was Ollie Lord, Joe Barry, Willem Drew, Trav Boak.
Yeesh.
That was the starting mids, I think, in the fifth.
Yeah.
Soldo didn't play, so they had Ollie Lord rucking, and he looked really good, actually. I'm keen to see where he lands because we talk about midfield, we talk about ruck, we talk about the ruck, the number 2 ruck, and we've always had that with Charlie or with Jeremy Finlayson. And with the new forward dynamic, where's Ollie Lord? Like, I see him starting round one. I think if Finlayson's playing down back, he probably comes in and plays the third tall. I think they kind of like that still, even though it's open. We've seen a couple of trainings as well that he has been part of that mix and does move. Obviously, he's 35 years younger than Charlie, so he's probably, moving a bit better. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see where he lands.
That is interesting considering where does he play. Like if he does play, like he's not a defender's backside. Like I've seen him play. He got towed up by Danny. It wasn't pretty, but that was part of his development in terms of making his around the ground game sort of work. But yeah, as a backup ruck, that's probably where he's going to be if Finlayson's down back, and then he does probably play, unless they go with Vicentini again.
Yeah, he was also playing in that fifth and sixth period. Also signed a contract extension, so congratulations to the Hivies. He'll obviously be coming in handy. Just back on that forward line mix quickly. We talk about Hornet, just that Lukosius, Georgiadis, Horn Francis, top of the square.
It's good.
I watched the D's final quarter we played a couple of years ago, where he picked that up in the wet.
Yeah, that was my birthday. That was a great night.
Yeah,
and then
I watched that.
We are the champions in the tunnel on the way to the casino, which was a bit weird in May, but you get that.
And we're only 7th win into a 13-win winning streak.
What a time! But
what it was like not to lose.
We've got we've got St Kilda this week in the Community Series.
Mm-hmm.
Can be a bit different. I expect us to probably go a bit harder to actually showcase a bit. And the Saints, in all realistic, they probably should be a bottom four side with the injuries they've got and the structure of how they got. But they could surprise. They came home with a wet sail last year. So,
I think with St Kilda, and again, I have to taper my expectations with both the Community Series, the February games, and we went. I think it was not last year, the year before. We went through. I think it was both WA sides lost to them.
It was last year before. Yep.
I think it was year
before.
Something like that. And we lost both games in the preseason, and it was like, oh, here we go. Came out round one, bet the Pies. Sorry, not the Pies, but bet the Lions by 50 points. So I expect a little bit more this week. I expect a really strong side. I think we normally come to see that this sort of squad for a Community Series game is about 28 to 20, about 30 players. We've seen squads announced for Community Series games which are played on, Tuesday. We've got Geelong, Essendon, and Wednesday nights Richmond, Collingwood. So squads are about 30. You probably take in your emergencies, and I reckon we'll see a strong side. But I always come out to win, and I think in the Community Series, in like this, probably want to come out and win this, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm very much I'm not too fussed about the result because, like you said, we lost to West Coast in preseason, we lost to Gold Coast, we lost to Freo, and we rock up during the home away season. That's what we traditionally do. It's the outside bits that we don't really rock up with. That's the preseason, the finals. So yeah, I'm expecting I expect cohesion. I expect the forward line to be good, and I want our defence to be tested. If they do it the similar way, if the midfield sort of back off and let St Kilda do what they want, do it. Test the defence, because that's what we're going to need to see in the first few weeks.
Test the spread of the defence as well. We've always spoken about, when the game got congested last week and it was all pack mark or pack situation, even if we were smaller, we were able to, slow them down, counterproduct what they were doing and get them on the leap. So test the spread, see what we can do on a fast pace. Well, we've always seen clubs dominate us on the spread and get us out the back. So see how we cope with that. I think get your forward line structure pretty sound as well. What you want to do for round one, I think, is something that's going to be a big part of this weekend. Everything else, like midfield, you've got the rotations, everything about that. So yeah, I'm keen. Plus, it's a Saturday arvo, which means hot sun, and
it's a rabbit, isn't it?
Yeah. RSA Park or RC Park, whatever they call it.
Like that. But it's been a pretty crazy pre-season for us here.
Yeah.
We're going to have a new coach next year.
Yeah.
What'd you make of it? with Kari, like sort of hashtag start the car because that's all good and fun. But yeah, what did you make of the whole sort of announcing, the rumor dropping in the lead up? What did you sort of make of it?
Didn't like the timing. I thought with the timing for me, it spells almost like a cheat sheet. You've got an excuse. You've got an easy way to say, oh, okay, Ken's leaving at the end of the year. Anything that happens this year is a free pass for the players and anything like that. It's an excuse essentially. You're not doing well. You're 1-5. You go, oh well, Ken's announcement was wrong. But they go up, they go win the thing, and it's like, oh, hang on, they're doing it for Ken. Last hurrah. We always thought it was going to happen. We didn't know when. Yeah. I think I kind of thought after the last announcement of his extension, 2026 would probably be it. We all thought the sacking was going to come last year.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, once again, as soon as pressure's on, we turned around. But look, after now that it's sort of suppressed over the last couple of weeks, I think it's obvious, they're going to do it for Ken, essentially. And I think they wanted to sort of parade it around. A bit of a John Cena farewell tour type of situation for Ken.
See, I want to see the players actually do it for themselves. And like, I know the bloke's been there since 2013, but I want to see them do it for themselves, do it for the club, and go out and win a premiership. Like, it's always been, whenever Ken's been backs against the wall, they rock up. Like we saw it from the Brisbane game, the St Kilda game last year. It was a scrappy game, but they got the win. And when the pressure came for the qualifying final into the semi-final, they rock up again. I want to see that consistently. One thing I really disliked, and all respect to Ken Hinkley and all that he'd been here for a long time, winning this coach, which is the biggest line of bullshit ever because it's home away. You got to win flags.
Yeah.
You don't play to bloody make top four and then do bugger all in September. The fact it was put around on his terms and going, oh, Ken has done this, Ken has done that. There is no one bigger than the football club. Like, ultimately, you made the decision. Like, it's not like, oh, Ken says, oh, yeah, Josh Carr should be the next coach. I'm sure he didn't pull out of the Richmond race where you're probably going to win it and beat Adam Uze for that job for no reason. I imagine there was some conversation that happened that you're going to be it. It's just a matter of when. And in all honesty, the 2-year extension to Ken, when it was done, was still the most ridiculous thing ever. We're talking August. We don't have a problem with the bloke's performance in the home and away season. We have a problem with the bloke's motivation when it comes to finals. That's what the supporter base is pretty frustrated about, is that when it gets to the business end of the season, we turn the water.
Yeah.
The fact it was given on his terms just reeked of just amateur. And that didn't sit right with me. But you know what? It's done. It's out there. They've done their message. That's the way it is. We move on. We know Josh Carr is going to be our coach in 2026, and I'm really excited. I think we spoke with Serge in first season of Pears On A Pod, and I think he did actually speak about Kari as a coach, how he worked along with him and all that sort of stuff. And then we also spoke with Dom Cassisi, who Kari punched him in the face. That's mate. So I look forward to seeing someone who lived and breathed Port Adelaide like Josh Carr did as a coach. I'm not saying Ken Hinkley hasn't done that, but it's someone that you and I definitely grew up watching, idolising, had the 10-0 record and showdowns. He understands what it means to be Port Adelaide. He understands what it means to win a premiership with Port Adelaide. I'm keen to see that. I don't buy into people thinking he's part of the problem because he's been there with Ken. Different coaches have different ideas. An assistant is an assistant. He still ultimately puts his ideas forward. The senior coach has got to tick it off. So let's see how that goes. See if the assistant coach is out of contract next season. We could have a whole different coaching lineup. We could be ready to absolutely go because I'm pretty sure we didn't replace Kari's midfield assistant. So we might be, might be going that way.
Yeah, I think so. I did like how they spelt out sort of Josh Carr in a way where people could look at it and go, okay, he has actually done the right road to becoming a senior coach. You've ticked off the ability to go somewhere else. You've won at a competitive level with North Adelaide in the SANFL. Went to Freo in a period where they were actually pretty half decent in
Yep.
the 3 years that he was there, and he's probably elevated what Sarong, Brayshaw, and Co have been able to do even today. And he's dealing with a midfield here that's similar in terms of high power, great class, speed, can damage you, and he has a good footy brain, and I think that sort of got lost in this succession plan announcement. That's another thing I sort of didn't like was it's all about Ken. It's all about Ken. Ken's leaving. Ken's done. Ken's not coaching Port Adelaide next year. Where's the narrative of Josh Carr is coaching Port Adelaide next year? That's sort of what I really didn't like, and it sort of didn't sit well with me that he got lost in all of that conversation. I know, as I said, like it's a farewell for Ken. There's going to be a lot of people that are having, Ken's leaving parties. There's a lot of people that are going to absolutely love that. And it just begs the question, like, obviously this year might be a waste. It might be successful. We actually don't know. But next year, and I hope it doesn't happen for Josh's sake, but what if we are sitting 2-6?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
A lot of questions to be answered. A lot of things we're going to find out in the next few months, and not so much on the grander scale, but a pretty remarkable story. Josh Lai. Pretty sure Josh Lai. I actually don't know how to pronounce it. If I'm honest, that's bad at me.
Josh Lai, actually.
How good is this story from basically suburban footy to an AFL list in space of 12 months?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They spotted him last year in Victoria. I think it was around, I can't remember the club, it was Campbelltown or something like that in Victoria that they were looking at, and they spotted him one day, and then all of a sudden he's come along and he's now on an AFL list, which is pretty crazy, and in an area which you probably look at and go, well, probably got enough of what he is like, but it begs the question: why couldn't like Jason Cripps or someone come down to the Spostrus and just have a cheeky look at the
Jesus
key forward or a key backman? Any danger, Crippo? But no, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Obviously, it also links in well with, and I've been a big it's been a big talking point, and one I've always put a lot of backing behind is the Magpies sort of behind the scenes redevelopment. We've got these rule changes, gone out and got these players, got Rome Burgoyne in there too. Franco's in there as well. Now Josh Ly's joining in. Speed, pace, agility. A lot to like about the Magpies. So
it'll be fast.
It's going to be a lot of fun at an Alberton Oval, which will blow more wind than Megan Gale.
You going with that one?
Well, if you get it like a Gale, Megan Gale.
Yep, we're going with that one. Yep, all right. Yeah, so, yeah. Our off-season signings were quite good, but I think that's pretty much all on our agenda, and as we head into the St Kilda game, and we've got a few things coming up as well. We've been promoting in our socials. So Beyond Alberton, which is a series that we sort of came up with that we want to speak to the supporters. We want to tell their story of how they came to love Port Adelaide like we do. Like some are going to be came from the Magpies era because we're not that old, as much as I look it. Then we got a Facebook group, so where we'll post everything in there as it happens and create some discussion, all that sort of stuff. We want to build a nice community, and of course, follow us on our socials. Thanks to posting heaps of videos, we've gone up 150. And John Butcher followed us the other day. Hey, Butch, hope you're listening. Love to have you on. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this year. It's going to be good.
A lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of enjoyment this year. Obviously, something different, something new for Port fans to get into, get involved with, and content on the socials these days is probably the number one driver into discussion and positivity, and also voicing an opinion. And that's what we look forward to doing across the season. So follow us on the socials, join up, and subscribe to the channel, because how else will you see Pears on a Pod?
Yeah, exactly.
Or listen to it.
Follow, like us. Follow us on Spotify so you get the notification straight away when our new one drops. But yeah, we'll have a bit more of this. We're going to introduce some segments, I think, in the coming weeks, which is sort of getting episode 1 done. And once the home and away season hits, we'll be rolling just like Port do. We take the piss in the preseason, and guess what? You ain't going to see us in September.
Nope.
We'll be here.
We'll be here. Don't know about they will. We'll get to that.
I will get to that.
Well, Huddo, it's been a pleasure. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much for joining, and obviously we'll catch you all in the next episode coming out next week. Make sure you leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts about Port's pre-season and the upcoming games ahead, and subscribe to The Pear for plenty more Port Adelaide and AFL content to come your way.
Sounds good.